Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the Kreeger cast. I'm joined today by Matt,
What's going on?
and I'm your host, Patrick Kreeger. So today, Matt went off and went through yes, a defensive pistol course out near a dam.
Yes.
So what'd you do?
I took a defensive pistol course class 1 with Solutions Group International, and
That is a very vague name.
yeah, they do very vague work all over the world. And they have a bunch of training courses they offer to civilians and military law enforcement. And some of those classes are military law enforcement only, and some of them are like Hollywood actors only for, teaching these actors how to actually act with firearms properly and, accurately.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to start seeing, like trigger discipline in movies and whatnot.
In a lot of recent movies, the trigger discipline has been on point.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
So what got you inspired to take this class today?
I have a buddy who shall remain nameless. Now we're all mixing up our words.
Yeah, it's all cool.
And he turned me on to the company of SGI, Solutions Group International. And
Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored, indeed. And so he told me if I was going to take a defensive, pistol class or just a firearms class in any sort of training in general, give these guys a go. They are the real deal. They have some of the most wonderful experience, and just overall they're great dudes to work with. And that was my assessment today. All of the instructors that were there were top notch, had excellent information to portray, and had they taught it and walked us through these different drills very, very entertainingly at times, and very efficiently. So I learned the craft and made it out by the end of the day.
So how many people were in your class today?
So
And how many instructors?
yeah, so these classes are 12 slots each. So this class should have had 12 people, and it did indeed have 12 people plus 2 master instructors. But those 12 people, about 4 of them were other SGI instructors that were just filling out the class because we had a 12 lane bay allotted to us.
Did you have to work with partners? Is that why they were filling it out, or were they just
They were just there. They
okay.
just showed up and decided that was what they wanted to do. So and it was fun. It's always good. From what they constantly kept saying was, it's always good to get back to basics. Some of these guys just got back from a deployment, and they were like very, how do I even say this? They appreciated the ability to get back to working slow, efficient movements, and that's what we accomplished today. But so far as the instructors go, or the class size and all that, there was 4 SGI instructors as quote unquote students, and the remaining 8 people, there were 3 civilians, of which I was one of them, and then there were 8 minus 3 is 5. I can do math. And then the remaining guys were mixed between 2 Rangers, 2 Marines, and 1 SAS guy.
No, which SAS?
I don't know. He just said he was ex-SAS, and I
British,
believe him.
Australian?
British. He was
Oh,
British,
okay.
yes.
Yeah, sorry, I was just curious about that part.
Yeah, he was 100% British.
Okay. So, so how many instructors were there? I'm sorry.
Technically 2 master instructors,
Okay.
but there were 4 instructors that took the class as if they were students as well.
So you decided to take this class thanks to your friend's advice.
Yes.
And how long have you been preparing for this class? And was there any prep work for it?
Well, this class was intended to be as if you'd never shot a pistol before. Essentially, you could walk into this class theoretically. You wouldn't be any good. You wouldn't retain too much of the information, as a lot of it would go over your head. You wouldn't be able to participate at the level that and speed that we were participating in, but it's doable. So the way I kind of understood the class was, you can have a brief, history with handguns, but it's not 100% necessary.
So they taught things like sight picture and safety and all that jazz?
Yeah. Cool. 99% of the class were 98%, let's say, or 95. I don't know what the
probably like
was.
90%.
Yeah,
based 90, on the numbers of people.
Exactly. Yeah, everyone except for 2 people were using a Glock 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other 2 were using like Glock 40s?
No, some guy was he was switching between his Glock 19 and a 1911. And the instructors ragged on him because of the whole 1911 Glock, not controversy.
I mean, the 1911 is clearly the superior weapon.
Well, as per the instructors, they were saying, it's good that you brought the Glock 19 because you brought the 1911. Because the 1911 will fail.
It won't necessarily fail, but most of them...
I've never seen one fail.
I've never seen one fail either in real life. But
fake life, though.
Well, no, I've just heard a lot of anecdotes about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's also, I've seen Glock polymer lowers blown up, and that's certain catastrophic issues happen, and that could happen to any firearm. It just so happens that Glocks and 1911 fans don't get along for whatever reason. Either.
Just kind of a funny side story. Long before the Saving Private Ryan movie, my grandfather always used to say that the only way a 1911 was a danger to you is if someone threw it at you.
Oh God, that was funny. Yeah, I remember that movie and how he threw his gun. Sorry, I'm moving some things.
But that was because he was out of ammo at that point, if I'm not mistaken.
And they both threw their pistols at each other, their sidearms.
But yeah, apparently that was a common story on both sides back during the war.
Interesting.
So yeah, well, the reason I say that 1911s might have their issues is because I always hear about modern 1911s bragging about, oh, we smoothed this part out, or oh, we honed this part to prevent jamming and whatnot. And I'm like, why are you bragging about this if there isn't some truth to the fact that the older or less well-built ones do jam?
Yeah.
But
I don't know, man. I've shot in a 1911 a couple of times. I haven't had any qualms with it. I haven't had it break on me. I haven't, had any catastrophic issues with it. I've shot in, Glocks, and they've worked. It just so happens that I used the 19 today.
In case you're wondering what the strange noises are in the background, no, we aren't doing ASMR. That's just Matt cleaning his pistol after a long day shooting. Now, how many rounds did you actually go through today?
Today we only went through 250.
Only 250.
Yes.
Actually, that is a small amount for a class.
Yeah. Well, it's the average from what I can gather from SGI's website. It's the average amount of rounds that you are allocated per these classes. So as you sign up for as a student, you get you have 250 rounds allotted to you at the beginning of the class. So it comes with a price. And if you're like some of the SGI guys, they had to provide their own ammo.
Okay. Now, did you have to get up at like the crack of dawn to go to this class?
I did, because this was my first training course, and so I was like, all right, I've never been to this shooting facility before.
Was it inside?
No, it was outside.
Oh, okay.
I had never been to this shooting facility before. I am unfamiliar with, I'm not unfamiliar with these particular freeways, but I am unfamiliar with these particular freeways at this, time of day. I'd never driven on.
What time of day was this?
Okay, well, yeah. So I woke up, at 5 or whatever, and I made sure to be on my way driving by 6:25. Well, in my car at 6:25, turn it on. By the time I get to the freeway, it's 6:30. So I was on the freeway at 6:30 and got there. Unfortunately, I got there at 7. So it only
Okay.
took me 30 minutes to get
What
there.
time did class start?
Class started at 8:30. So
Ah.
I made a friend though.
Someone else coming from a distance away, Zay?
Yeah. I don't know actually where he was. Actually, no. He works over at a different shooting facility down the ways, and Rahagi's.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I love Rahagas.
Yes, and he.
I actually have a piece of their welcome sign in my backyard.
There you go.
They were throwing it out.
Yeah, this guy was an SGI instructor, and as well as a instructor over at Rahagi's. And he came up and was like, "Hey, you here for the DPC with SGI?" And I go, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, well, my name is so and so, and what's yours?" And I'm like, "My name's Matt. What's going on?" And we just got to talking about SGI, the industry, people into the industry, and then we started talking about coffee.
I presume he likes Black Rifle Coffee Company.
Yeah. He this morning had coffee from 7-Eleven, although but I had my mug that was a Black Rifle coffee mug, and it was filled with nothing but fresh roasted freedom. So he definitely saw that and knew he was with someone that has common interests in coffee.
So after y'all talked coffee for a little bit, how else did he kill that hour and a half, more or less?
Just talked about the industry for the longest time. Because I have aspirations to get into this industry of sorts. I won't discuss
Firearms training?
Not necessarily firearms training,
Okay.
but that'll be for a video at a later date. We just talked about certain people, his his time with SGI and contracting overseas, and just a good amount of information. And he was just a wealth of knowledge. He must have been somewhere in like his late 30s, early 40s. So he's been around the block for a while, and he said he'd been doing this since right after college.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of professionals in the field there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So how much of it was book learning versus how much of it was actually time on the range?
Book learning, I thought that we'd probably, since it was an 8-hour course, I figured, wow, we can't be shooting 250 rounds in 8 hours. That's going to take 5 ever. So, as opposed to the 4 ever.
I got your joke.
Okay. It's stupid. So in the beginning of the course, we all eventually, filed into this large open bay, and then, we, gathered around, and the instructor, one of the main 2 instructors, addressed the whole class and was like, "All right, this is what this is, blah blah blah. Just go around and say your name and what you're coming from, your background and all that, and just a little thing about you." And everyone was going around, "Hey, my name is so and so. I'm currently enlisted ranger," or "Hey, I'm so and so. I'm part of MARSOC." And it gets to me, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm Matt, and I've got what did I say? Oh man, I said something good, and now I can't remember."
It's okay. You can come back to that if you want
we can
to.
come back to it.
So you thought that the class was worthwhile?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So it was phenomenal. I've had several years of shooting in my background, none of training though, and basically what I said when we had our little group chat was I had 0 training, but the funny thing was I was keeping up with some of these tier 1 guys, and I was very surprised with that because I never really considered myself that proficient with handguns. Rifles I've always been good with. Shotguns I've been recently pretty good with, specifically over unders, and now I've got it in writing that I'm pretty good with pistols.
Yeah, I've seen your groups on your targets, and you do a good job. You
Today,
do a better job than I do.
well, today with our drills, I was doing pretty damn good. It, I was on it today. There were a couple drills that we ran that I wasn't too exceptional with, and that was because I had never heard of these drills before. I had never practiced these drills before, and this was the first time I was doing them. So naturally, I was only on par with semi proficient with it, as opposed to exceptional, which was the majority of the class. But it was a phenomenal time. I kept up with some of the best of them, and that was surprising to me. I didn't know I was that good, and I feel very confident now.
Well, I'm glad you had such a great experience, and I really do hope you continue getting your education, as it were.
Absolutely, yeah. The way SGI works is I was waiting and waiting and waiting because they don't offer, they offer a plethora of these, classes. Some are, knowledge based, more like classroom settings, like medical stuff and wilderness survival, information and, that kind of deal. And then they have the training with firearms classes, and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting on for these classes to come up, for something I could do, something not advanced.
Mm-hmm.
And it got around to the September, and they had their defensive pistol course 1, and so I took that. Next month is defensive pistol course 2. I plan on taking that. The next month, I believe, is Executive Protection Detail 1, which
Oh, okay. That's
throws
kind of
me
cool.
off. Yeah, no, I definitely am going to be taking that class. But from the description, it seems like the same exact deal. It covers the same material as what was discussed in Defensive Pistol Course 1. However, there are some differences, obviously, with the movement. We did a lot of movement today with targets, and shifting from target to target, and actually physically moving ourselves around as opposed to just turreting around from target to target. And so I look forward to that class, but they haven't updated their calendar on their website, at least, with their new classes post November. So in November I will be taking that Executive Protection Detail class, and then hopefully in December, when they add more classes, they'll do Defensive Pistol Course 3, 4, 5, and 6. They have 6 defensive pistol class courses, and each one builds off the other. And so I'm looking to get my 6 classes under my belt.
You desperately have me wanting to do this with a Luger, though.
Oh yeah, no. You literally can bring whatever you want. You just
Have to be decent with it.
well, not even that. I mean, with Defensive Pistol Course 1, you don't really have to be decent. I was decent. A lot of the guys were decent, but the 2 other civilians that were there weren't decent. And I mean, not to discredit them for their gender, but they were women. One of which took their women's Defensive Pistol Course class, and she was pretty good. But there's something to be said about the muscle that a guy has that trains versus a female that isn't as trained, doesn't need it for their profession, and is doing this recreationally, and is kind of new to firearms. And those were the 2 women that took it.
So you're saying they should have been using 38s? Or 380s?
Maybe, because I did notice that they were the recoil on it was how did the instructor put it? They're anticipating the recoil a little too much, so their shot placement was off accordingly. So
Well, as they always do say, pick the weapon that is best for you. Pick the caliber that's best to you. A hit with a 22 does more damage than a miss with a 44.
Yeah, and see, the great thing with this class is you can use any weapon you want. Everyone was using a Glock 19, and then one guy was rocking a 1911 in between, just to piss off the instructor a little bit, because it was just a little, back and forth. It was fun. And he was, everyone was having a blast. So, but yeah, you could definitely bring a 380 or anything. You could bring a 22 caliber pistol. You can do whatever.
I will have to say this, that based on the stats I've seen, anything smaller than a 32, like a 32 and down, doesn't actually have the best stopping power. And I'm not just saying like, stopping power is everything. But it seems like if you hit a person center mass with any cartridge that's above a 32, more or less the threat is stopped. And I'm not saying you've killed the person, but more or less the threat is stopped. But with the 32s and downs, the averages are like 3 hits to stop the aggression.
And see, we were working with that. We were working with, all right, in the beginning of the day, the beginning of the shooting portion of the day, we were working with one-shot drills. Then we obviously progressed to more shots, and eventually mag dumps. And that's, oh God, what's the terminology? It was like...
Always mag dump.
Well, yeah. That's what... The 1911 guy. He's an exceptional shooter. He's a ranger, ex-ranger, and he had an RMR on all of his weapons.
I don't know what you mean by that.
He had a red dot on each of his pistols.
Weird, a red dot on a pistol.
Yeah, no, that's hugely common.
Oh, I just thought that was something that they do in video games and whatnot.
Oh, no.
Irons all the way.
Well, I mean, that's what the majority of the class was using. All the SGI guys, they were rocking straight irons. They had, they might have changed it from the stock irons that were on the Glock 19 to, maybe something a little bit, more visual, something that worked better for them. But otherwise, all irons. However, this guy did have, RMRs and the Leopold Pro Series or whatever their little, red dot was for on his gun, on his 1911, and that's definitely something I would like to, put on. Maybe not on this Glock, because I do want a stock Glock, as it were, and then have another Glock with maybe like a lighter weight slide, maybe a different trigger.
Why do you want to go lighter than a Glock?
Well, just for the speed, the ease of racking it, sliding,
okay.
the using the slide. Mine is pretty stiff compared to some of the other Glocks that I've tried, and I did handle one of the other guys' slides. It was a stock 19, but it was so much easier to rack the slide. And so I was, playing with that for a little bit, and he goes, yeah, dude, all I did was I changed the slide and the spring. But if you're using a stock Glock, just shoot like 30,000 rounds through it, and you're gonna, it's gonna ease up.
Yeah, I don't think most people have even shot 30,000 rounds in their life, let alone 30,000 rounds just to break in a gun.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's just, I don't know if he was over-exaggerating or whatever, but basically break the gun in is what I took it as. And, yeah. I've shot maybe, how many? Probably 2,000 rounds to this.
Really?
And it's starting to break in a little. It's starting to become easier. It's definitely noticeably easier to rack the slide than for when I first bought it. But I bought this new, obviously, and after 2,000 rounds, it's starting to get a little bit easier. Definitely noticeable, but not too much.
I still can't get over Glocks. I know they're the best pistol on the market, more or less. But, man, I can't stand those polymer frames.
It's definitely something that was in my head when I picked it up. I was, kind of worrisome because I had only had more so experience with Berettas and SIGs and the like, and so I was worrisome, but I mean, it's nice. It's light. All the weight's on top, so once you wrap your head around that and can get behind it, it's definitely nice. And I did something that did improve for me significantly during this class was my grip. My grip, both with my primary hand and stabilizing hand, greatly improved, and my trigger control. That definitely improved, and I really, I noticed that I was shooting a little bit down and to the left with all my shots, so I would compensate and shoot high into the right. And after I figured out where I'm shooting every time I go shooting, so I'd compensate as opposed to changing the issue. I'd just compensate on the fly, and that's not what you should be doing. Obviously, you need to be, you need to change your grip and shoot right. So
Did they make you shoot on the offhand?
no, not in this class. He basically said, the main instructor, he basically said that the way they run it, the defensive pistol courses, is each one builds off of the previous, but it's all the master instructors
Prerogative.
They can write a bunch of things down of what they want to do with the day, but when it comes to the actual day, it's all based on the group that he's working with, and how everyone's performing and the speed of the group, and it could change on the fly. So this specific instructor was like, I don't plan on anything. I just come in and we just do what we do.
Cool. So you had a good time. Anything else to add about your experience today? Anything stand out?
Well, I was initially nervous, right? I was super nervous. I was like, oh man, this is my first class. I got to be good, But then I was like, all right, noticing online there was only 6 people signed up. I was like, oh, dude, this is going to be mellow. There's going to be 6 of us, 5 others, including myself, not including myself, and it's going to be, super mellow. But
I did want to join you.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Hey.
That would have been fun. And the other, SGI guys that joined on, they only joined on because it was empty. And this was like the amount of people that were signed up and that came. And there was obviously free bays. So they joined. But, it was intimidating having all of those tier 1 guys, tack onto the group. And it was definitely a vote of confidence when I found out I was keeping up with them. I may not have been as fast. I may not have been as accurate, but my shots were, relatively, spot on. And
you're a pretty good shot.
Yeah, and I with my shots today, I was hitting where I needed to hit, so I was blowing targets away.
How far away were the targets, just out of curiosity?
It depended on the drill we were working with. So we were working with like anywhere from 3 feet to 25 yards.
Okay.
So 25 yards was a good amount of space after working with 3 feet.
Yeah.
3 feet was the just a bunch. We ran a bunch of drills at 3 feet, and just working on basically the fact that this course was mostly catered to the like CCW school of thought, essentially. Like, all right, this dude's like running up on you. What are you doing? Hey, I've got a CCW. Like one of the drills was
you have to announce.
You draw. You announce. Hey. You have to say something. And mine was, hey, I have a CCW. Someone please call 911. This guy's trying to rob me. This guy's trying to mug me, whatever the situation. One of mine I called out, this guy's trying to rape me.
Okay.
Bro, don't rape me. And then the drill is, you call it out, you wait like 3 seconds, and then the instructor says fire. And then you'll just, you magged up into him. And then it definitely worked with like your because all day we were drawing and draw, shoot. So we're working with like the 5 points, contact with the gun, releasing it, bringing it forward, bringing it all the way, extended arms, and then click, fire. And we were working with a lot with that and getting that whole process real smooth. And I had very, very little experience with holstering and deholstering, weapons or, a pistol. And getting that down as fast as I did was very interesting to me. I didn't think I would be that good. My holster is kind of sharp. So I figured I'd bust up my hand all day. I totally came into this thinking, all right, I'm going to destroy my right hand. And I didn't. I got real good with just not looking and holstering. We did a lot of, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, grabbing the, the pistol, bringing it up, back down, up to, point 3, back down to 1, back down to 3 to 4, to back down to 2. And then and then back down to 1 is just a bunch of drills. And
for those of you who can't see, which is all of you, he was just mimicking or miming the pistol positions when he was saying those numbers.
Oh yeah.
Do remember we are a audio medium.
Yeah, cameras or video or something. But yeah, so there was a bunch of work with actually just manipulating the firearm without pulling the trigger, and then pulling the trigger, and then just dealing with a bunch of scenarios of like, all right, he's over there, if a threat is far enough away, and understanding like threat assessment, like, okay, when you see these stupid IG guys that are just moving real fast and they're not looking, where they're checking their peripherals and behind them when they're threat assessing after they make their shots of their drills. A lot of guys on Instagram are just doing it for the cool factor, where today we draw, go through the whole motion, fire, and then after you fire you go back down to position 3 where the gun's close to your body. You look right, you hold for a couple seconds, you're fully looking behind you, you look to the left. And then a lot of it was, the instructor would get really angry if you didn't look down, because a lot of the time, your feet might be in, like, if you're clearing your house, let's say, you might run into a cord, you might run into a couch, and then a lot of guys were like, yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've stubbed my toe, walking around clearing a house in the middle of the night, or because they run these drills without shoes, for house clearing inside your house. And I mean, I don't know about you, but a lot of the time I don't wear shoes in my house. So
savage.
Yeah. So there was just a lot of professional, very accurate training, minus the actual pulling of a trigger, but the philosophy behind threat assessment. And that was very key. That was something I learned a lot about today.
Can't wait till you do the carbine class.
Yeah, they don't have one, listed on their calendar. I just missed one, right? So there was one in July, and I just found out about this group from my buddy towards the end of June, and at the time my rifle was the gas block was all busted up. The gas tube.
Yeah.
So I so I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for it, and I didn't want to take my 7.62 out because it was a DMR class, actually, designated marksman rifle class. So ideally, 16 to 18 inch barrel, bipod and everything.
So like STV 40s and Gewehr 43s and
no, yeah, it's gonna be all AR platforms. That's what everyone's rocking.
No, it's all about the K98.
Yeah.
The most practical weapon on the battlefield today.
Clearly. When I see QB, I always grab the K98. There was just knowledge drop after knowledge drop, and I was, I had all these preconceived, notations of just, I see the guys on Instagram, I see training videos on YouTube, whatever. I've trained with a bunch of like tier 1 guys in the past, and it's more so relaxed, not so much training as in just planking at long range. And so really working with for the most part CQB, pistol craft.
For our audience, what is CQB?
Close quarters battle.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean like a CQBR that you'll hear, or a SBR. CQBR is a close quarters battle rifle, or SBR is a short barreled rifle. It's the same thing.
Seriously?
Yeah. So CQBR, it's an interchangeable kind of phrase I've heard. CQBR, close quarters battle rifle. Essentially, that's going to be like a Mark 18, a 10.3 inch barrel, whatever you choose. A true Mark 18 is going to be that 10.3 inch barrel. An SBR can be a little bit more, being that it's just a short barreled rifle, so anything under 16 inches, let's say, or like 14 and a half.
Okay. So you had a good time today.
Absolutely.
You learned a ton. You're going to go back for more.
Yep.
Cool. So switching subjects slightly, but while staying on firearms, let's talk about your first rifle.
Okay.
I remember years ago, you and I went out to buy our first guns together.
Yes.
And we both bought the same rifle.
I think, birds of a feather.
Slightly different variants of the same rifle, but let's talk about yours and what made you decide. What argument did I make that helped sway you towards the dark side, as it were?
Well, I don't particularly remember the what you said to me, but it was strong enough to the point where I agreed with you, and I picked that specific rifle up, and ever since I've fallen in love with it. So
they have no idea what that rifle is, by the way.
It is a Yugoslavian K98.
Yeah, it's the M2448.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. That's
or 2748, something like that.
2448, I believe.
I know the last number is 48 for sure, but
yeah.
I don't know what the first number is.
I think it's 24.
I'm
pretty certain.
It's a interwar rifle.
Yes.
So it was made between World Wars I and II.
Mm-hmm.
It was then used by the Yugoslavian military to fight the Nazis. Yeah. And then when they failed to fight the Nazis, they used it to fight the communists. Yeah. And then when they failed to fight the communists, they used it to fight the Nazis again. And then they used it to fight the communists again. And then they used it to fight themselves. So there's a lot of history in them there rifles.
Yeah, it's a good little rifle right there.
It's a 8mm Mauser action. It was actually made on German equipment that was given to Yugoslavia after World War I.
Yep.
So it was retrofitted in 1948 or thereabout to make it more modern and more standardized. So that's hence the 48 designation.
Yeah. And
you got into them when the getting was good.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, should I say the price on here?
I mean, if you want to.
Yeah.
But...
So I picked it up for $125, and then I think out the door I paid $150 with all the tax and all that.
And drosses and whatnot, yeah.
And back then that was cheap. Now, for an AR, I'm paying like $100 plus for dross and whatnot. And
seriously, I thought
it's expensive.
Are drosses not $30 anymore?
No, and like with the background check and everything, I think it's an additional $100.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I've not purchased a firearm in many years, so I wouldn't know.
It's like you pick up a strip lower. It's like, all right, the price is $100, bucks. Let's just say you're out the door for like $200, $225.
That's insane.
It's ridiculous.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean maybe my shop just is crazy, but I mean
they seem like good people.
It's multiple shops.
So
at least in the Southern California area.
Yeah, I got the couple firearms I needed, and I decided not to get any more. I'm happy with what I got.
Exactly.
But yeah, the Mauser, I've always considered it the quintessential rifle, and particularly at the time when we were purchasing them, they were cheap.
Yeah.
they were like really cheap. The rifle you got was a perfect, absolutely stunningly perfect Yugoslavian Mauser, which there were many of at the time. You used to be able to pick them up for between $80 and $150, depending on condition and what equipment it came with. You'd be hard pressed to touch one for $300 now.
Exactly. Yeah.
For a junk one.
Yeah, like or some from a less than reputable country, let's say, and
Yeah, I do have a fondness for my Turkish Mausers.
you know, but yeah, I was when I picked up the one up that I did back when we did. I just assumed like, oh, it's a World War II rifle, but still operable or whatever. They're always going to be cheap, of this style rifle. I just had this.
Yeah, it wasn't like German or British or American.
Yeah, it wasn't something super, collector. It was just, it was a working 8mm Mauser.
Yeah.
And so I figured, oh, it'll be fine. The prices won't go up. And wow, did they?
Yeah.
Boy howdy.
I can attest that the rifle I bought at the same time, which was also an 8mm Mauser, but mine was German. Its value went up almost 5 times since I purchased that firearm.
Yeah.
Which is just
insane.
Just outrageous.
Yeah, it's
I hate to say this. The German ones aren't worth it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's not that the German ones are not good or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, I can see them being $1,000 gun. And I could see a really special one being like a $2,000 gun.
Okay.
But why are some of them like $5,000 or $7,000?
Oh, beats me, bro.
I mean, it's just insane to me.
Yeah.
As much as I do love those firearms, people are asking too much for them.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the 8mm Mauser actually is the most produced bolt-action rifle in history. I could be wrong about that, but I know that they produce something like 5 or 8 times as many as there are Remington 700s.
Oh, there you go.
So,
and Remington 700s, the name you hear at every range, long distance range. It's like, oh yeah, well, what are you rocking with? Oh, Remington 700. Let's say, little differences between model numbers or whatever, styles and whatnot, barrel lengths, but everyone's shooting 308 or, what have you. So it's.
I don't believe in that 308 nonsense.
308, baby. That's where it's
No.
at. It's a good round.
Real rifle cartridges start at 30-06.
Jesus. Yeah.
I kid, of course. The 308 is a fantastic cartridge. It's just not my preference.
I do want to pick up a 300. Real bad.
300 what?
Win mag.
Oh yeah, 300 Win Mag's nice. 300 Win Mag's nice.
I believe the M24. I could have that model wrong, but military issued bolt action. Designated. Sniper rifle is 300 Win mag.
Well, it is a canyon gun.
Yeah.
It shoots flat and it shoots long.
Yeah, and that's what they're using it for.
And I do have to admit that the ballistics of the 30-06 don't warrant it. Anything that you should be using a 30-06 for, you can do just as well with a 308 or a 300 Win Mag. Depending on what end of the spectrum you're dealing with.
Yeah, honestly, I'll probably pick up a bolt action 308 of something, but
You should get a Tika.
Well, yeah. Now, your Tika's real nice.
Yeah, Tikas are good things.
That action is just incredibly smooth.
If you're used to dealing with old-fashioned firearms like myself, the Tika was an amazing difference. The bolt doesn't rattle, for one.
Yeah.
And that you can manipulate the action literally with your pinky, which is just insane to me.
Oh, yeah. It's a phenomenal piece of work.
Sometimes when I'm out in the field with my K98, I almost have to slam the bolt up against something.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it gets kind of bad sometimes. But,
it's a workhorse. That's what it is. I mean, granted, that's not to say the Tika isn't, but it's just, you're working with 2 different centuries, man.
Yeah, there's like 70 years of advancement between the 2 firearms.
Yeah.
You can actually trace the Mauser's history back to before 1898.
Yeah, jeez.
But, yeah, there's a lot of difference there. An interesting firearm I saw recently was I think I saw like a Mosin Nagant pattern shotgun,
Oh,
which was a really strange thing.
yeah.
A bolt action shotgun.
Yeah, no, those are sick, man. I
Yeah.
think you're showing me pictures of it. It was it's an interesting firearm.
Yeah, I've always known that. I've always known that there were conversions of like Mausers and whatnot
Hmm.
that could shoot shotgun. It was really weird to see a one that was built from the ground up with the intent of being a shotgun.
Yeah, that's a cool thought though. It's I don't know the applicability. I don't know if that's the word, but the the need or use for it. I just don't know too much about that rifle or shotgun.
It's a shotgun. So the story that I was sold on it, like when I was talking to the people about it, is that back in the day, you could buy a single shot shotgun really cheap. They were dirt cheap. And then for just a little bit more, you could buy a bolt action shotgun. It was like 5 or 10% more to buy a bolt action shotgun. But then to get a pump was like 3 times the cost.
I wonder what that is.
And then to get the semi automatic was like 5 or 6 times the cost.
Semi-auto is slick.
And so apparently you find a ton of single shot shotguns from that era. The era being the 1950s and 60s. And you find bolt actions from time to time, which I just find very fascinating and weird. I've only ever seen the one, so they're out there apparently, and they're not valuable. I think the price on this was like $150 or $130, something like that.
Yeah, you said like out the door it was probably going to be just under 200.
Yeah. So anyway, cool little thing. Cool little thing. But I am a Mauser aficionado through and through.
Yeah, but like I was, I'm sorry to
No,
cut you
go
off.
for it. Go
But
for it.
like I was saying, like I'd probably pick up a bolt action 308, but the major after that, I'm not going to pick up any other rifle rounded in 308. Other
You get
than
a Spanish Mauser.
negative. I will be, the only other 308 guns I will be rocking are going to be like SR25s or Mark 110s.
FAL, man, FAL.
If I could find one or a Galil, I'd pick up a Galil or even a G3. I it it if I could find one and the price is right, I will spend way too much money to get an FAL if I could find one. They are kind of hard to find locally. You can have them shipped or whatever, but if one was in the shop, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna ship an FAL at least for the foreseeable future.
I haven't seen an FAL for sale, but I also haven't looked that hard.
Yeah, and exactly, and that's the thing. Like I only look into what the these shops have, and aside from that, I'll import other lowers, AR platform junk, that kind of stuff. But
You can't sell me on the AR, man. I know it's an incredibly practical, reliable, cheap, and fantastic firearm. Can't sell me on it.
hey, Stoner sold a Kalashnikov on it, so
Ooh.
yeah,
Ooh,
and
low blow, man.
in 93, 92, when Kalish came to the U.S., it was they both shot each other's rifles. Him with the M16 and Stoner, shot the AK, and they both became friends. Shooting together, and I believe they kept in pretty good contact until their death. But each rifle has their purpose, and the M16 variant, M4 AR platforms, they are incredibly, through the years have become incredibly reliable, incredibly proficient firearms.
They really are fantastic firearms.
Mm-hmm.
They really, really are. I still don't like them. But it's an irrational dislike.
Yeah.
But then again, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But moving on from the SR25s and Mark 110s, just 308 pattern, ARs. Definitely want a 300 Win Mag bolt. I definitely want
Side by side 375 H&H.
Yeah, 100% want 375. So bad for whatever reason, and I think that's just because of you. I've fallen in love with that thing. It is a missile.
As far as I'm concerned, there really are only 3 cartridges you need: 762 by 39, 8mm Mauser, and 375 H&H. If you have those 3 firearms, you're golden. You can do anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well, anything that a rifle's needed for.
yeah. I mean, well, 760 by 39 is gonna blow some of that smaller game up.
Yeah, but anything smaller than that, you should be using shotgun with, shot.
I don't know, man. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, like,
5.56 has its purpose.
yeah, no, I would argue that the 5.56 is a great replacement for the 762 by 39 if you had to pick 3 cartridges.
If you have to go down, 5.56 is nice.
Pick your 3 cartridges. You can only have 3.
Doesn't matter what the guns are.
No.
Just all right. Well, definitely 5.56 because I would pick that because it's so mass produced. You can find parts for all the guns. You can find the ammunition everywhere. There's a wide variety of grain counts and different loads. 5.56 is a great round. Moving up from that, that'll probably be my lowest round, and I'll just clump 5.56 with 223 as well.
So you're stealing one.
Well,
Give you an inch and you take them out. I see how it is.
I'd take a 5.56 barrel, right, and then I'd shoot 223 if I had to. Can't go backwards from that. But up from that, I will go with. I should go with 760 by 39, but.
So you're not making that big of a jump.
The American in me will go 300 blackout.
Okay.
Because I'm currently building a pistol for that, and I think that's a very nice round. You get that thing suppressed, shoot subsonic, and it is a beautiful cartridge and beautiful firearm. That thing operates.
So, okay. 5.56, 300 blackout.
And I'd probably go with not something as big as 375, just because you need, what are you going to do with, going from 5.56 to 300? That's not that big of a jump at all.
There is a right answer, by the way.
Yeah, it's 308. That is the right answer.
No.
I probably, if I had to choose one, I'd probably choose 308, to be honest, because I'm looking at it as parts. I'm looking at ammo availability, and 300 is found. The 300 Win Mag, that's found. You can find that. You can find 375 H&H. Probably. I haven't been looking for it, so I don't know.
It's like $3-4 a shot, man.
Well, I'm sure you can still buy it though.
Yes, you can.
In every store, but
not every, but most.
But all right, for rifles though.
More than 8mm.
Yeah, jeez. But for rifles, I'd probably go 5.56, 300, and 308, just because those are the steps I want to take. And those are the rifles I'm currently making. Those are what I'm interested in right now, and also what I would be able to find fairly easily in America, where we're at. So I'd probably go with those 3 rounds. But I do, I know that there's, other rounds that would be better for certain applications.
This is true. There is no perfect cartridge. 8mm accepted, of course.
Of course.
But I actually have a revised list of your favorite cartridges.
Okay.
I'm going to be that jerk and say, I think I got a better one for you.
Okay.
So 5.56.
Sure.
Of course. Got to go with 5.56.
Got it.
Next step up, you can still go with your 300 blackout, but I would really recommend that you do go with the 308 instead.
Okay.
And then for your high-end cartridge, don't think 375 H&H. Think 338 Lapua.
Oh, yeah.
Because the cool thing about the Lapua is, with hand loads, you can take everything from deer to grizzly with a 338 Lapua. It's the most versatile cartridge today.
Yeah.
At least in my humble opinion.
I mean, we're getting into variants and stuff. Like,
and we are now talking about hand loading.
Mm-hmm. And, 6.5 Creedmoor over 308, and we could go into all the crazy, and then 224 Valkyrie over 223.
7.9 or 7.91 by 39.
What is that?
I think it's 7.91 by 39. 8 millimeter short.
Oh Jesus. I don't know. Like,
should look that up.
For rifles, personally, I mean, I've got the 7.62 by 39 already built in an AR platform, and it's a fun gun. But I'm trying to build a 300 pistol, so that's what I'm going with.
7.92.
Oh, okay.
By 33.
Okay.
So, yeah. 8 millimeter short.
Was that what was in the FG? Or was that...
No, the FG was a full 8 millimeter.
Okay.
The FG 42 was a full 8 millimeter, which is just insane.
That is a mean gun.
Yeah.
It's unforgiving.
There's some guys out of Florida that are making them these days in semi-auto, and that's pretty cool. No, this is what the STG 44 shot.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
The granddaddy of all assault rifles.
As you so clearly have showed me earlier tonight.
Well. Apparently they continued on after the war. I just found this out, and I really wish I had the exact model. But they converted it to shoot 5.56 NATO.
Interesting. I wonder how that cycles.
I don't know,
because I know the STG, the 44 cycled pretty slowly. I mean, it cycled properly, but it was a thump, 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 as opposed to, something faster.
Well, let's see what the rate of fire was on those. 600 rounds per minute.
That's moving.
Well, let's see what the M16 is. You should know that off the top of your head.
Because I'm just the platform spokesman for M16 variants.
Yes. Yes, you are.
Apparently.
Well, keep up the conversation while I look this up.
Well, I don't know, man. There are tons of rounds that I'm building guns around, and just, I just for the collector in me and the I don't know what to call it. I've got to have every round I want. I'm not going to build every single cartridge out there, in a gun, but I'm very interested in, not so much 223 because I can get 223 out of a 5.56 if I need to shoot that round. I'm not super into 223. I might eventually build just like a 20-inch barrel,
23-inch, man.
224 Valkyrie, and because that's the hot thing to do nowadays, and it's for everything I read, it's a super accurate, super awesome setup. So I'll probably end up doing one of those. I've got the 7.62 by 39 down in an AR, but my specific gun doesn't like steel, so I gotta shoot
Steel's
brass.
the only way to go, man.
Yeah, well, 7.62 by 39, yes. So I'm gonna probably pick up a CMMG Mutant here eventually, and because that thing eats
anything.
It'll eat steel all day.
So would you hate me if I put the M16 at its worst and the STG at its best?
Yes.
Okay. So the STG at its best shoots 600 rounds per minute with apparently average firing rates of around 450 to 500. The M16 apparently does 700 rounds per minute.
Okay.
With its absolute best being somewhere around 950. But I think you remember from in-range TV that the M16 had issues with sustained firing.
Mm-hmm.
So even here on this weird little chart from Military Today, they say 45 to 60 rounds per minute out of a M16.
Okay.
Which, that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
You don't want 60 rounds of 223 or 5.56 headed your way.
No, you don't want that many rounds headed your way of anything, really. But yeah, I mean, who's shooting that? I mean, if we're gonna talk military application, then yes. But I mean, us
lowly civvies.
These civvy life. but I don't think that'll make a huge difference for us so far as these firing rates. So I don't know why I even brought up the STG firing rate.
Because, I don't know. It's just interesting. I've never heard the STG referred to that way as being slow firing, but it sounds like you're right.
It's that's from what I've seen, and so that's why it went into my head and out my mouth.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Well, we're here at about an hour. We could wrap it up if you wish.
Well, is there anything else you want to talk about firearms related? I mean, we could talk about pistol calibers. We can go into the 9mm versus 45, but that debate's already been settled by.
I think that's another show, though.
Yeah, that is.
All right, so we're going to call it a night.
Sounds good.
Have a wonderful night, dear listener. See you out there.